right? So it's not uncommon for people to say, "There's no way you can find $3,000 in a margin in my current situation," because most people that we talk to for the first time, they're like, "I've already done it all. I've already wrung out every dollar that I can in my finances. There's really nothing more to do." And the reality is, well, that's just not true.
Yeah.
Discussions in this show are for entertainment and educational purposes only and should not be construed as specific recommendations or investment advice. Always consult with your investment professional before making important investment decisions. Securities offered through registered representatives of Cambridge Investment Research Incorporated, a broker-dealer, member FINRA, SIPC. Advisory services through Cambridge Investment Research Advisors Incorporated, a registered investment advisor. Cambridge and SmartPro Financial are not affiliated.
All right, listeners, welcome to SmartPro Radio, where we love people and like finance. We have an amazing guest joining us today. He's the Senior Executive Vice President of EveryDollar, Herb Jenkins. Herb, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Rick. So glad to be here.
So if you're a Ramsey fan, if you're a listener to the show, you've heard of EveryDollar, you've seen it. But if you're not, if you're new, explain to our audience, what is EveryDollar?
EveryDollar. So EveryDollar, in the simplest terms, is our zero-based budget product. If you're a Ramsey fan, you've heard Dave talk on air for years about zero-based budgeting and that you need to do a budget. And EveryDollar is Ramsey's product that really we created to get people to budget the way we teach. In its simplest terms, that's all the product is.
Can you go back for somebody too that's going, okay, what's a zero-based budget?
Yeah,
what is that?
great question.
What does that mean?
Yep, a zero-based budget is the way that that we teach people to do budgeting. And all a zero-based budget is it's income, your income minus your expenses equals zero. And that doesn't mean you have no money left at the end of the month. What that means is really that it's about giving every dollar a name. That's really where the name came from, EveryDollar. Back when we were in the branding days, in the early days of branding this product, we were thinking about, should we call it this? Should we call it that? And over and over again, when we looked at clips of Dave talking about budgeting, you got to give every dollar a name, over and over and over again. We used that term and it was like, there it is.
That's it.
Every dollar, it's about really about being intentional with your money, and this idea of like giving every dollar a name. Every dollar in your income should have a job, right? It like either you are happening to your money, or your money is happening to you. And when you're happening to your money, you're giving every dollar a job and telling it where to go instead of wondering where it went.
No, and I love that last line. Instead of wondering where it went, you're telling it where to go. I think that's so important because so many times, whether it's money or just in general, your time, margin your life, things just happen. And there's certain people they let life happen to them and they wonder what is going on. And it's no different with finance. It's no different with money. We see that all the time. And just little bits of movement in the right direction over time can create a huge amount of momentum. And when it comes to finance, when it comes to budgeting. But I want to go back for a minute because I want to be real transparent about myself here in this situation. I'm the listener to the Ramsey Show that gets fired up when somebody does their debt-free scream, right? They're telling their story. I'm sitting there going, oh my goodness, that's so amazing. I put myself back in those times when I was going through this debt-free journey. I think about clients that have got to the end of it. I think about friends that have gotten there and what it's looked like in their life. And then always, the host is always asking, what did it? What was it? What did it? And it seems like 9 times out of 10, it was the same thing. And every time before they said it, I said, don't say budgeting. Don't say budgeting. Give me another reason. Give me another reason. Not because I didn't think it worked.
It was the airline miles that did it.
That's right. That's right. It's because I'm naturally rebellious about budgeting. Like, like me personally, someone in finance, I'm just like, I don't want to do it. And then at the end of it, they do their debt-free scream. What was it? It was the budget.
It was the budget.
It was the budget. So it's such a huge part of being able to get momentum in the baby steps, right? Being able to get out of debt, to have freedom from, financial institutions really dictating where your money goes. And then you saying, hey, I'm going to give every dollar a name, tell it where it goes. So going back and thinking of somebody like me, what's the hope for someone that goes, I just don't like budgeting. I rebel against this idea of budgeting. I don't want to do it. I don't have the discipline. Why is this EveryDollar idea better? Or why would it be able to give me hope to be able that I could actually budget and not despise it?
That's a great question. And it's at the heart of a lot of what we deal with as a product, and what my team, it really, really focuses on, overcoming that very issue that you're talking about there. But it's also what our company deals with day to day with people. There's this idea of I kind of know I should do it, but I just don't want to do it. Right? There's a common thread you see through a lot of the difference between handling money well and winning with money, and for the people that don't. Okay, so for budgeting, the hope. Well, okay, so first let me start with the reason why a lot of people feel that way to begin with, right? The reason why, for a lot of people, is you think about the average American, myself included. Nobody ever taught me how to budget, right? In school, I didn't get the budgeting class. And I look back on that, as an adult, and I'm like, man, my life could have been so much easier if I would have been taught this stuff instead of fill in the blank, But we weren't taught the right way to budget. We weren't even taught what budgeting is.
That's right.
If you were to ask, if we were to go downtown Nashville, which is where we are, and just ask some people on the street, hey, what is a budget? You would get 1,000 different answers. So people barely know what budgeting is, and they don't know how to budget the right way. And so when those two things, when you barely know what something is and you don't know how to do it the right way, and then you try to do it, that is a recipe for disaster. You as a user will do it wrong and get frustrated by that, or feel all sorts of negative emotions around that, and think, why would I ever do this again? I don't want to do this. This is something that's miserable and it's painful, and the way you're doing it, it probably is. The hope there, though, to get back to your initial question, is when you do budgeting the right way, it actually is freedom, right? Like it's so counterintuitive. Most people think of budgeting as a straitjacket, and it's not just like a general statement I'm making about people. We talk to customers all the time. We've got our hosts of the Ramsey Show who literally are talking to customers on the other side of the phone 3 hours a day. But the EveryDollar team is talking to customers every day. And over and over and over again, we hear this sentiment of, like, why don't you want to budget? This sentiment of, it just feels so restrictive to me. But contrast that with, like, isn't it odd that it's like the same thing, budgeting, can feel restrictive, like a straitjacket for some people, and for others feel freeing, cause you to feel freedom in a way that you didn't feel before, or peace in a way that you didn't feel before. It's just a fascinating concept that the same thing can elicit such different reactions from people.
Yeah, no, that's remarkable. It's interesting, is it sparked a thought that I had, because when you mentioned that, hey, it's freedom, it's counterintuitive. Like, you're thinking some people might assume it's restrictive because you're putting a framework around how you spend money instead of it just being anything at any time, right? And there's actually freedom to it, where you give yourself the ability to say, hey, I have X amount of money to spend how I want, and build it out. It goes back to some things that happen on people's journey through the baby steps, right? So baby step 7 is to live and give like no one else, and you're spending all this time to build wealth. You're saving money. But then there's this giving portion. And you guys have had the Ramsey personalities talk about this. You've had guests on the show talk about this, that when you give, you actually wind up having better finances. And for a lot of times, it's just a way of a spirit of generosity. And whether that's because you're budgeting better, you're being more intentional about how you spend money, or, problem solving, but it tends to be an interesting thing that's also counterintuitive. That spirit of generosity tends to be people that can build wealth faster over time. And so it's an interesting thing. The same with budgeting, of it's not restrictive. It's actually building freedom around your money and telling it where to go. So it's just like an interesting thing with even at the beginning stages for some people. And really, I guess budgeting's throughout the whole process. It's not a beginning baby step. It's throughout the whole time. But even at the end, where you're in baby step 7 to live and give, it's still there too, where it's kind of the opposite of what you might think.
And, you really hit on an important point there, because budgeting is at the core of when you think about the winning with money over time, right? If you're going to work the Ramsey plan, if you're going to handle money the way we teach, we are trying to help users win with money over time. And budgeting is kind of unique in that it is, like you said, it's not a baby step. We think of it as like a thread that runs through every baby step on the plan.
That's right.
But it's also one of the most frequent money habits that you have as you're managing your money, right? Like there's things that kind of don't fit the baby steps either, like your insurances or other things like that. But budgeting is kind of unique in that it is at the core of how you're handling your money all throughout that journey. And budgeting on its own will not get you very far. But trying to work the baby steps without doing a budget is also not going to get you very far. When those two things come together, it is a powerful, powerful combination. But really, like you said, budgeting is not just something you do when you're on baby step 2. And I'm fortunate enough to be on baby step 7. I've been on baby step 7 for going on 12 years now. And my wife and I still do our monthly budget on paper, on purpose, before the month begins. And it is as important to us now as it was then when we were on the early parts of our journey. But it really goes back to, like, most people don't see it that way. Most people don't see a budget as something that's like a core practice to winning with money. Most people, just to kind of compare and contrast that, are in what we tend to call a fog. They're kind of humming along, just kind of living life. And really, there's usually I tend to call it like an inciting incident. That's not what the term that Dave uses, but there's usually something that comes up in their life that causes them to, like, wake up, to snap out of the fog for a second, to get above it for a second and say something like, I need to do a budget. And that can be everything from, we need to buy a house. We need to start saving for a house. We need to do a budget. We got a vacation coming up. We got to save for that vacation. We need to do a budget. There's usually a thing that prompts them to think, I need to do a budget. But that's honestly, it's part of the problem here is, like, budgeting is not something you do just for the vacation that you want to go on. Budgeting is what you do to harness your most powerful wealth building tool, which is your income, and to free up as much margin as you can, the extra above your essential expenses, to point towards what matters most. When that light switch flips and you see it that way, it just fundamentally changes how you think about budgeting, which is why for me and my wife, even though we don't have debt, paid off house, all that good stuff, budgeting is still just as important to us, because we're thinking about how can we point as many dollars at what we care about, and for us, that may be giving and living like no one else, which is it is as good as people talk about. But whether it's investing for a family, giving, all that stuff, it's still just as important now as it was on baby step 2.
Do you think when people have that moment where they go, oh my goodness, I got to do a budget, do you think it is a negative, something negative happened? Or do you think it is, I want to save up for whatever, right? I want to save, but you mentioned a vacation or something big. It seems like, in my experience, and you have way more information when it comes to budgeting. When I think about it with clients, it's generally something came up unexpected. And I got to get serious about this. Or they had that moment where maybe it was a defining birthday where they look down and they go, oh my goodness, my kid's 15. They're going to be going to college in just a few years. Yeah. Oh no. Or whatever it may be. Do you find that there's those defining moments in people's lives that, hey, maybe somebody's listening to this, they haven't had it yet, but it's coming and here's what it's going to look like. And before you get there, you need to get your budget, get your money, tell your money where to go, because this is what it's going to look like. And here's what we've seen, whether it's at this age or in this issue comes up or whatever it may be. Have you seen that?
We have. It is both. I would say it's both positive and negative. And I think you hit on it. The common thread there is more that it's about something unexpected. That is by far the most common thing. Now, that what's unexpected could be I just had a car wreck, and now I've got an unplanned. I mean, it's an unexpected expense. But I'd say some smaller examples would be when people turn 50. We see that as a really common reference point where they start looking ahead to retirement, and that's something that's close enough that it's like, I've got to start getting my retirement in order. So there's something about that 50-year mark that for a lot of people, it's like, oh crap, I've got to get on track for retirement. Whereas as a 20-something-year-old, you're like, I'm never going to get old, But
that's somebody else's problem. Right.
Yeah. So we do see it as both positive examples and negative examples. If people are living paycheck to paycheck and they really aren't, out earning their stupidity, as Dave calls it, a lot more times than not, it's a negative prompt versus a positive one. But we definitely see we see both.
That's very interesting. So one of the things when you go online and you look at EveryDollar, you go to the web page, it pops up, and I want you to kind of explain this or tell me how this is possible, because I think somebody might see this and immediately go, oh my goodness, of course, I got to start doing this. I feel like you know what I'm going to say here, right? But here we go. It says, find $3,000, right, in your first 15 minutes. What does that mean? Like what? Because a lot of people are going, oh my goodness, that would be life changing. We talk about baby step one, just having that $1,000 and somebody getting momentum going, and it's saying, hey, there's 3 times their savings, on average or whatever, for somebody just starting this process.
Yep. So that stat, so $3,015 is the average amount that we've found as people have onboarded into the product. So one of the great things about working at Ramsey is that our teaching and our advice is all built on years and years and years of time in the trenches with people, helping them handle money and like work the plan the way we teach, right? This is not theory. It's actually practical, kneecap to kneecap is what we call it, like one-on-one coaching based advice that we give people. And so having done that for so many years, we can ask you, let's say 1 to 2 dozen questions about your money and your financial situation. And we can tell you where we can find money. The idea of freeing up margin. So going back to that concept, if you think about, if you want to progress on the baby steps, if you want to save that $1,000 faster, if you want to pay down that debt fast, the name of the game really is getting as much margin as you can to point at those baby steps. And if you understand what your essential expenses are and you get those as low as possible, and you point as many of your dollars at the things that matter, the things you can do with money is things that most people coming into working with us do not believe is possible. Right. So it's not uncommon for people to say, there's no way you can find $3,000 of margin in my current situation, because most people that we talk to for the first time, they're like, I've already done it all. I've already wrung out every dollar that I can in my finances. There's really nothing more to do. And the reality is, well, that's just not true.
Yeah. No, that's interesting.
So we ask people a handful of questions about their finances, and from that, based on what we know, and where money can be found, and where you can really squeeze out some more from your budget, we're able to find on average, $3,000. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, but just in general, that is it. I mean, that is over tens of thousands of users. That's not like a small sample size of users. Real money that people are able. Now, then the question becomes, are you willing to do those things? Which is where the rest of the product comes in, is helping you understand what those things are that you can do and why they're important and why they can, and what, if you actually do what we teach, how much faster you can go than you're going right now, which, man, is just such an empowering conversation to have with the customer.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Hey, if you've been listening for a while, you know that we care about doing things the right way and helping people make choices that truly matter. But here's the thing, you don't have to do it alone. At SmartPro Financial, we build a custom step-by-step plan that has the potential to help you today, but also guides you into the future you're hoping for. We use Ramsey-inspired investment models, so your money's invested the same way the Ramsey team talks about. And get this, there's no account minimums, because we believe that everyone deserves trustworthy financial advice no matter where they're starting. If you're ready to get started, then click the link below to meet with a SmartPro financial professional today. So I want to ask you some client questions. So these are things that we've heard from clients. I want to know how Herb would answer them. All right, okay. You ready for a few? Okay.
Let's do it.
So one of them is, I do all the finances. I don't need to have my spouse involved for the budgeting. I'm just going to take care of it. What do you say to that?
Well, I say, well, there's a difference between what I would say to that person in that moment and just the cut to the chase answer. Which one do you want?
Well, you know what? You don't have to actually talk to the client. Give me your give me your real answer. Give me your raw answer, how you feel there.
I mean, real answer is if you're married, this is we, not me. We are in this together. And if you are doing the budget by yourself, or if you're keeping your finances separate, you are doing it wrong. And that is not from like a judgmental sort of statement, like a condescending sort of statement, but just as a matter of fact. Finances, managing your finances is meant to be something in a marriage that you and your spouse are meant to do together. And if you are somebody who has it all figured out, if you're the nerd and your spouse is the free spirit, that's great. Like that, there is nothing wrong with that at all. But to think because I care more than they care, it should be just me who does it. That is not how finances in a marriage should work. And there is and what the reason why I say that, it's not just an answer with no context, but the reason why I say that is because there is a power in being on the same page with your spouse that you just cannot have if you're running it solo. Being on the same page and being in it together, having gone through the process of working through the money decisions that you on your own are making right now about your finances, about your budget, and it being we decisions, not me decisions, completely changes the dynamic with your spouse. If it's just you and you're telling them what they can and can't do with their money, that honestly gets to one of the, if you said like, hey, what are the biggest problems people have with the budget? One of them is the straitjacket thing. One of them is the restriction thing. Another one, we have four that we refer back to the most. But another one is that it's been weaponized. Like, for your spouse, it more times than not, when it's just one of you doing the budget and the other is just receiving the budget, The budget is a weapon, and nobody wants to be, having a weapon used against them. So, just I tend to think like, what kind of relationship do I really want to continue developing with my spouse? Is it one where I want to say this is what you can and can't do with money, and to be dictating orders, or is it one to say this is what we choose to do and what we've decided and what we're doing together? I mean, just the unity there is just so powerful.
So for someone listening going, how is that used as a weapon? What do you mean by that? What do you mean that a budget can be weaponized?
Yeah. Well, if it can be, okay. So if I set the budget by myself, and then I'm telling, my wife Stephanie, she's more the free spirit than I am. I'm more the nerd in the family. And if I tell her this is how much you can and can't spend, and if as she spends, if I'm constantly critiquing and criticizing her for what she's spending, how she's spending, if I'm questioning, why did you spend this on that? And why did you do this? Nowhere in that conversation is she experiencing freedom. When we talked about the hope, what's the hope on the other side of this is the budget can be freeing. It can be permission to spend. But if I'm criticizing every purchase that she's making, then nowhere is she experiencing freedom, right? And in that case, like, she's like, you are not. She's not budgeting as designed, and neither are you. Like, neither party in this equation is really doing it the way as designed, because both of you should feel permission to spend. Right? You both should be making decisions on, we're choosing to spend less on this so that we can do more of that, whatever that is. We're going to cut back on restaurants so that we can, pay down our debt 6 months faster. When that's we decisions, it fundamentally changes how both parties involved are interacting with money. But over time, if you're telling your spouse what they can and can't do, and are criticizing every single purchase they make, the fatigue that builds over time on hearing that message repeated over and over again is really opportunity for more money fights, not less.
That's right.
And getting on the same page with your finances, in big part, is about addressing, one of the biggest reasons why people get divorced is money fights and money problems. Like, we're like, if you really do this together as a family, you actually avoid those fights, not create more of them. So, so if you go back and watch Financial Peace University, we have a budgeting lesson, and what's really fascinating about that lesson is that if you look at the time Dave spends unpacking and teaching on budgeting, 80% of it is why you should budget, and things like relating with money, relating with your spouse. And only 20% of it is like tactically how you do a zero-based budget, how you line up your expenses, how you get down to zero, what that means, so it's just fascinating to me on a question like this. It hits on the 80% a lot more.
That's right.
The why you budget and how you budget, than it is tactically, just doing it in practice. So, man, I tell you, it's a fascinating thing. And the reason why, if you really get to the core of it, the reason why so many people have negative associations with budgeting is not about the tactical, practical X's and O's of the budget. It's about either the emotions or the wrapped up emotions I have with it, the mindset I've got towards budgeting, or like the relating with money side, the things I'm doing around the budget, in this case with my spouse. That's where a lot of that negative association really comes from. But when we think, but still, it's weird, because it's like budgeting as a practice is pretty simple. The tactical of the budget is actually pretty simple. What we do around it is what's so complex and what gets us all tripped up. So
yeah, no, I love that. It goes right into that 80% behavioral, 20% head knowledge. Even when we talk about that to clients with investing, it's like, hey, it's behavior. It's staying in the markets when things seem like you shouldn't be. It's long-term. It's not always looking at returns and rate of returns at all times. And so it's really interesting that budgeting, a lot of finance just goes back into that behavioral side of it. Now, I want to ask you this, because somebody listening right now is going, Herb, that's great. You got the nerd, you got the free spirit, you're on a team together. I don't have anyone in my corner. I'm by myself. How do I do this alone? How do I hold myself accountable? How do I even start this process when it's just me? Is it harder for somebody if they're doing it on their own? Is it easier? Is it different? What do you say to that?
It's a great question, and it's something that we definitely deal with quite a bit. We talk a lot about. We're really intentional about how do we address people that aren't married and are also needing to budget. I guess I would say, in some ways it's easier, and in some ways it's harder. The thing. Okay, so let's cover a few of the bases here. In a lot of ways, it can feel you can feel isolated. You can feel like I don't have anybody in my corner. It's just me doing this thing by myself. But to be honest with you, like if both you and your spouse never learned how to budget the right way, and we kind of know what budgeting is, but we don't really know what budgeting is, you're not in too different of a spot than most married couples are to begin with. Because whether it's both of us don't know what we're doing or one of us doesn't know what we're doing, we don't know what we're doing. So okay, so here's a few tips I would give to somebody who's single and are thinking, like, yeah, I get it and I'd love to get into it, but I feel like I'm doing this thing on my own. I would say we highly recommend that you find an accountability partner. That's part of what we teach for somebody who's single is find somebody that you trust that can be a second set of eyes on the budget that you do, and ask them to be an accountability partner for you, so that you can have somebody in your corner. And so whether that's a trusted friend, it's not like a specific person in your life. It doesn't have to be your mom or dad or whatever. It's who is it that you can trust that can give you honest, unbiased, feedback on, yep, I think this looks good, or hey, if I'm being honest, I think you're being way too loose here. I think there's a lot more here you can do. I think we all need people in our lives that can do that for us. And I think that, for each person that answer is different, but an accountability partner is really valuable. That alone doesn't get you there though, right? So just having an accountability partner doesn't make budgeting easy. However you do it, you don't have to work with us, but for however you do it, you need to, start with what is a budget, and I can give you, my definition of that or our definition of that, and how do you do it the right way. If you can start there, man, it makes the process so much easier. Spend a little bit of time doing a little bit of research on what is a budget and how do I do it well. But if you can get that foundation and have an accountability partner that can walk alongside that with you, that can really that does help a lot of people that we work kneecap to kneecap with.
That's great. Another client question. I'm in baby step 7. I'm maxing out my IRAs. I'm maxing out my 401k. Life is good. I don't need a budget.
Yep. So I'm in that situation, baby step 7, like I'm, my wife and I are we have freed up so much margin out of all the debt we've paid off and the payments we don't have. And, okay, so what I would agree with is that person is not in the same situation as somebody on baby step 2 who's got more month at the end of their money, right? Not everybody needs to be gazelle intense for their entire lives, right? So gazelle intensity is where, it's like, it's meant to be for a season. It's meant to be where you attack your debt and you attack, this hole that you've dug yourself in. If you're on baby step 7, you don't have that hole anymore, right? So budgeting it's not meant to be done with the same level of intensity as on baby step 2. But to say that I don't need to do it is also not correct. You have to give, again, either you're going to happen to your money or your money's going to happen to you. And I tell you, even on baby step 7, it is easy to take the foot off the gas. It's easy to let that spending creep happen, just like, it's like you have this feeling of release. It's like we've made it. And there's a part of you that just says, now I just want to spend on whatever, whenever. And again, like there's freedom to spend on what you if you budget, if you set that aside with your fund money, your clothing, whatever categories you've got. But it should not be don't budget. It should be yes, it's not as intense, but you still need to, on paper, on purpose, before the month begins, create a plan for your money and stick to it. And that plan may be outrageous spending relative to what you were doing on baby step 2. But it's still a plan and it's still something that you're sticking to.
So let me ask you a personal question, because you're baby step 7, you know about budgeting better than probably anyone. Did you see when you got there, when you're in this position to go, hey, we've done really well by being disciplined over time, got to this point where we have margin, that where you saw that margin go, where you saw that whatever that looks like in your life, did it surprise you? Were you able to do things you went, oh my goodness, this is very interesting, and maybe I didn't think we'd be able to make this kind of impact or do this, or maybe it's experiences. What was it that at the end of the day, if you're going through this process right now, you have something that, man, when I get to that point, the point that Herb's at, the point he's talking about right now, I want to know what that's like. Was there anything that surprised you personally with you and your family's finances?
Absolutely. And I would say the feeling I felt coming into baby step 7, honestly, was really similar to the feeling that I felt when we just started baby step 3. Okay. So in both of those situations, when we're attacking debt and paying down our debt, you have this goal in mind, you're gazelle intense, it's go, 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 it's throwing everything we've got at it, and then you do it. And you have this moment where you have this both this gratification, this reward of like, we have slayed the dragon. And then there's an exhale, and then there's a now what? It's something, it's like, it's one of those goals that you hadn't been able to see past. And then once you're past it, you now have to like look up again and say, where do we go from here? And that is a natural, this is the way I describe it, is like, it's a natural, expected part of the process, and you should embrace it. That's there's that initial window of time once you arrive, so to speak, and I'm using air quotes, right? Once you arrive, that you do need to give space for. And after a little while, you get past that feeling, you get past that time, and it becomes something different. But in that initial moment, there was, so for us after baby step 2, we didn't go straight into throw everything we've got at baby step 3, because we had been waiting on some car repair, and like there was some stuff that we really were planning to do after baby step 2, that I'd say we dialed down the gazelle intensity a little bit to give us room to do as we started working up baby step. After we paid off our house, baby step 6, same kind of thing. It's like we were throwing everything we had past the 15% for investing towards paying down that house. And then once we did that, we took that breath, we looked up, and we're like, now what? I think there's value in giving yourself some room to spend like you're not used to, just to get it out. Like you don't have to be tight as a drum with every single cent that you have throughout your life. Like there's got to be room where you can enjoy it. Just like my wife and I, we had a month where we said, okay, there's all this living and giving that we want to do. But let's just like we've got this margin here that we would normally be pointing at like getting ahead on retirement. Let's just go spend it. Like we don't on what we're not sure yet, but let's just just go spend it and see what happens.
Yeah.
And it was weird. And this is just my story. It was weird how there was a part that was great about it. It was like that release feeling of it was great. And at the same time, there was this tinge of like, is this really how I want to be spending all this money? Like it was funny how like when we finally got there and it's like, we can spend freely. That I almost had this feeling of like, but I kind of want to point those dollars now at getting ahead on retirement, or like there are several projects we're passionate about. Like we could be given this money, but it started drumming up new feelings and new thoughts that honestly I didn't expect until we'd gotten there, because I couldn't see past paying off the house.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. Yeah. There's almost like, hey, this is great. We have the freedom to do it, but it doesn't feel right in the sense of we have more we can accomplish with it. That's an interesting.
That's right.
Because I think a lot of people will probably just think, man, when I get to that point, I'm gonna do whatever I want. And a lot of times, whatever you want, if it's just to consume, it's kind of fruitless.
Yeah. That's right. Now you should have fun with your money. I just want to keep repeating that point. Like you should enjoy life. I mean, I work closely with Dave. I see, how he really, handles his life. Like he has lots of fun, and like he also is more intentional with his money than anybody I've ever met. And you can be both of those things.
But Herb, haven't you ever read the comment section? You're never supposed to spend money if you do what Dave says. What do you mean? It seems like there's that misconception all the time, isn't there? Like, no, if you do this, you're going to be eating beans and rice forever, and you can never spend money on anything, and you'll never have a home, and you'll never have a car. You're like, what? Right. Yeah. And it's the exact opposite. It's just adding discipline in there so that you don't have to be a slave to your finances and to debt. So I want to go back. I'm going to go back to the app for a second and go back to EveryDollar, because there's a lot of opportunity for people to stumble upon different ways to budget, different apps that are out there. Maybe they're doing it themselves in spreadsheets. Maybe they're just writing it down. There's probably people that just say, I budget in my head and keep it there, like all different excuses and ways and flavors, right? So my question is, what makes EveryDollar distinctly Ramsey that you go, ooh, I want to plug into that because of the mission I'm on?
Yeah, that's a great question, and something that we have talked a lot about. We continue to challenge even within our own company. This is an active conversation ongoing. How should EveryDollar, like what should EveryDollar teach, and why should it do it, and why should we do it this way versus that way? We are always challenging and wrestling with that question. I'd say in a good way. What separates EveryDollar from every other budget product? The zero-based budgeting is something that you don't see out in the marketplace a lot. Again, and what I would say is, if you were to say, what is a budget? A budget is a plan for your money. It is you telling your dollars where to go, right? And what we teach is you need to have that plan for your money before the month begins. And so what I would say is, like, for us and budgeting, there's a lot of ways you can budget. And if you want to do it the way we teach, and what we would say is what we've seen to be the most effective with people. Like, this isn't teaching because this is just what we like. This is battle tested in the trenches. What helps people win with money more than anything is when you have a plan for your money before the month begins and you manage to it. That gives you the best chance for success in your finances. So that's why we teach it, right? So a lot of the budget products, they don't orient around a plan. They'll orient around your bank balance, or, it's really just an expense tracker. Nothing in an expense tracker gives you a plan, right? That just tells you what happened in the rearview mirror. It doesn't tell you it doesn't give you the opportunity to say what's going to happen this coming month. And so, so EveryDollar as a product really is meant for people that are wanting to win with money most effectively based on what we've seen from working with people for over 30 years, kneecap to kneecap. And what's also unique about it is that it ties in with the baby steps. And if you're trying to work our plan, it is the most effective product to help you do that.
So I'm sure you've seen a lot of very interesting stories, heard stories, seen the data. Can you share with us some of those financial transformation stories that you and your team have been a part of because of people participating in EveryDollar?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is the stuff that gets me fired up, like, so I've been at Ramsey for 13 years now. And man, I was a Dave fan before working here. But man, this is what I love about this place is it is an organization that truly cares more about helping people than making money. And that is a rare and wonderful thing to be a part of. And so, when we spend a lot of time really asking the question, how can we best help people win with money? How can we best help people manage their finances? And, so when we're talking to people and we're asking them about their situation before they start budgeting versus after, we see all sorts of different things. But here's a few things that I'll say from like real users that we are actively walking alongside, whether that's our one-on-one coaches or whether that's our team that is talking to customers every day. Before people budget, on average, we see people overspending by about $500 a month. They are so, and it's, and I would say for most people, they barely even understand that they're spending more than they're making. It's just this by degrees thing that's like notching up over time, where $500 month after month, I mean, that's $6,000 a year that you can be in debt if you by degrees overspend every single month. And what we see, okay, so if you were to say, hey, I want to start budgeting, I'm about to get into it, what should I expect? What we would tell you is it takes about 3 months, about 90 days to really get your budgeting on lockdown, to really feel good about doing a budget, to where it's natural, it's easier, it just kind of clicks. That first budget that you do is going to be, it's going to be very unnatural. You second guess everything. You don't even know where all your money is. You miss stuff. In month 2, you're like, oh, I missed this expense or category. Like it takes about 3 cycles to get good at it. So what we see of people after so if your starting point is negative $500 a month, what we see on average is if people do what we teach, then after their first month of budgeting, they're typically spending about $1,000 less than they're making. So that's a $1,500 swing in month 1 from what they were spending before versus what they're spending now. And that is from really just a handful of things that if people do them and do them the right way, can radically change the margin in their budget.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. You talk about financial transformation as well online.
Financial transformation, yeah.
Yeah, and you talk about some pretty big numbers.
Absolutely.
Can you explain what that looks like? And then also those numbers, we're not talking about millions, but billions of money in financial transformation. Talk about that.
Okay. So if I'm a listener here, I've probably never heard the term financial transformation before. So let's start with just kind of where did that come from? What is that term and what does it mean? Okay. So here at Ramsey, one of the things that when we're doing our as a business, when we're doing our goal planning and we're looking out way ahead in the future and we're saying, where do we want our company to be in several years? We measure that in terms of how much we're helping people. Like the goals we set we set our goals in terms of how much we're helping consumers in the marketplace. And so And that conversation is where we really started talking about this concept of financial transformation. How do we define what, how much we're helping people in the marketplace? What does winning look like there? And so financial transformation is a term that we came up with to say, if you're doing what we teach and if we're effectively helping people win with money, we should see it in one of three ways: in the debt they've paid above their minimum payments, in the money they've saved, or in the money they've given. And so if you said, so we have a goal by the end of 2029 that we want to see our users create 20 billion in financial transformation. So using our products, using EveryDollar, we want to see 20 billion debt paid above minimum payments, dollars saved towards emergency funds, or towards their investing in retirement, or money given. And it's like, if users are doing that, they are winning with money at a level that we don't see today. Now, we do have a today number too. That's not a number we've just made up out of the air and we're starting from zero. We have over 3 billion in financial transformation that we're already seeing in EveryDollar today, that we're actively seeing as people are budgeting with us in debt paid above minimum payments, in the money that they're giving. And that is whenever you're talking billions, it's hard to get your brain around that, right? Like, you and I don't just interact with billions of things on any given day, right? So, but fortunately, and we feel very grateful for this. Our platform has reached enough people that we're talking about hundreds of thousands of people interacting with EveryDollar every single month. And when you've got hundreds of thousands of people doing thousands of dollars here and there of turnaround of debt paid, dollar saved, money given, man, those numbers add up.
They do. Yeah, that's amazing. So I've been listening. I love the idea of being able to find money initially. I love the idea of being able to tell my money where to go. I want to be part of that financial transformation. I want to be part of that $20 billion number by 2029. Like, I want to participate. You've convinced me. How do I get started? And is there any, I'm brand new to this. Is there anything you tell me, some wisdom to say, hey, get started, but remember this?
Yep. Well, the great thing about our plan, really is anybody can do it and it works every time. And there's not a lot of things that you can say that about. So if the thing I would say to customers above all else is, if you're not working the baby steps and if you're not budgeting, just do it. We don't care where you do it, how you do it. I mean, we do, but more than anything, what we care about is that you're doing it. And that is the win that we're going for here, is that we want to see you win. Now, we are creating products and services that are trying to help people do that very thing faster, more effectively, to help you along the way. And so if you said, what would give me the best chance of creating financial transformation, it would be using products that are trying to help you do that same thing more. So why do it on your own when you can have a whole company that's there to help you do it better? When you're wondering, what do I do next? We into EveryDollar, we've started adding teaching that actually helps people answer those questions about their money. And that's just because that's what our users are asking for. They're like, hey, I've done a budget, now what? Or how do I do this part and why? By degrees, we've just started adding more teaching and more tools that just help people answer those questions in real time as they're doing their budgets, which are causing them to budget longer, create more margin, create more turnaround, and just help them on the journey that they're already on.
Yeah. Actually have hopes that they can win with their money, which is an amazing thing. Ladies and gentlemen, Herb Jenkins and his team are ready to help you. They are out there right now. And I know that from our standpoint here, talking in our office of this particular podcast recording, so many people said, well, what does he do? And we talked about Everydollar. Oh my goodness, Everydollar changed my life. It changed and just the positive stories that I got that kind of took me back, because we've had some interesting guests on there, from Dr. John Deloney to Jade Warshaw. We've talked, and this is the first time where there was something that would be discussed, change people's lives financially. And so it's not just a tool, it's something that can build hope in your finances, give you margin to where you can win. And Herb, we're so happy that you and your team for the work you're doing, and that you took time to join us and talk about it.
Thanks, Rick. I really appreciate it. We are huge fans of you guys as well. I mean, you guys get it, and you know how to serve customers in a way that a lot of people don't. And so this has been an honor. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you. Hey, thank you all so much for tuning in to today's episode of SmartPro Radio. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please take a minute and subscribe and share this episode with friends. We really do appreciate it. And make sure that you don't miss any future episodes. We put them out on the first Monday of each month. We'll see you then.
Discussions in this show are for entertainment and educational purposes only and should not be construed as specific recommendations or investment advice. Always consult with your investment professional before making important investment decisions. Securities offered through registered representatives of Cambridge Investment Research Incorporated, a broker-dealer, member FINRA, SIPC. Advisory services through Cambridge Investment Research Advisors Incorporated, a registered investment advisor. Cambridge and SmartPro Financial are not affiliated.